What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what is moving the market today, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is down 2.34%, 1124 the low, 1172 the high. Yesterday, there was a new all-time high that was hit. So far, it seems to be holding up, but we'll kind of wait and see how things are really playing out. But we are seeing also very low volume, 4.3 million shares being traded, 8.8 is the average. So there's a lot of weird stuff that's happening in the broader market. So during the pre-market, for instance, we had a certain level of optimism. That largely was because of this. So 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗛 initiates coverage on quantum computing stocks. Even though that has absolutely no relevance towards Lucid, Wall Street actually does pay attention to 𝗪𝗓𝗧𝗛 and 𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗛. So 𝗪𝗓𝗧𝗛 is one of the kind of analysts that covers outside the box types of stocks. And honestly, I think even though he's very, very crazy with a lot of his price targets and so forth, a lot of them come to fruition. So I think Wall Street has learned to really pay attention to him. And so for them to give ratings on quantum computing stocks, which is very speculative, the market actually saw that as a positive and actually started to move higher because of this right here. Even though today we haven't really had that much in data. So we had mortgage applications, mortgage market index, both coming in a little bit worse for wear. So that wasn't great. But again, the market was kind of focusing on this and really moving higher. But unfortunately, for those of you that kind of tuned into my weekend video, I kind of signaled that this week was going to be rough. And largely it is because of, not just because of the crazy data, but more specifically because of the Bank of Japan interest rate decision that's coming out Thursday evening. So this hands down is exactly why we've seen low volume, not just with Lucid, but across the board for a long time, because there's been a liquidity pinch. In case you guys don't know, by them potentially raising their rates by 0.25, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So this is going to cause a lot of distress in the American bond market. And through that, eventually it will trickle down to equities. So lo and behold, that is exactly why everything is happening. Oddly enough, for whatever reason, I guess people are just stuck in a bubble right now. I don't see any big accounts really bringing this up. And I've been talking about it for almost a week. And that hands down, again, justifies exactly what has been happening in the broader market. So in general, it is just a giant bull trap that has been occurring over the last couple trading days. In Lucid's case, though, there really hasn't been that much in news today. No SEC filings. They did put out this. I've actually started to pay attention to the Lucid Motors Middle East account more than like their main account. Their main account, whoever manages that, doesn't know kind of what people actually care about. This one right here, even if you look at a lot of their posts, like it's on point. This is exactly what Lucid investors want to see and want to hear. So interviews, kind of just pushing what investors care about. That's what I want to see. I don't care about Lucid, like just a picture of a dog or the trunk or whatever frunk. It's just nothing really crazy coming from them. So I feel that Lucid really does need to work on their marketing quite significantly, but still nonetheless, Lucid Motors Middle East is definitely a place to be and to follow. So for those of you that are on Twitter or X, definitely worthwhile to give them a follow. But aside from all that, though, it's just a crappy day in the broader market. Shorts are increasing 291,000 shares. So we are pretty much officially now at all-time high short interest numbers. So I did mention, I think a couple days back, that 33.61% is the all-time high short interest. And so we are now at 33.64. So crazy, crazy stuff that is happening. Hopefully, like I said, I really do like Lucid. Their vehicles are on point, but I think it's just poor timing. A lot of people always compare Lucid to Tesla as Tesla was ramping up. You can't compare the two in reality, because the environment and the kind of macro conditions when Tesla was starting to ramp up versus Lucid, it's night and day difference. So in general, I think Lucid has a little bit more pain ahead, and this is probably why shorts are kind of still circling. Still yet to be seen why Lucid management hasn't actually addressed this whatsoever. I've never actually heard on any of their earnings calls that, like, hey, we need to do this, or we're getting influenced by shorts or some other crap. Like, they stay silent, and I think that's rather suspicious if you actually think about it, because stocks that are 10 times the size of Lucid, they sometimes bring up shorts, such as SoFi. I think they brought it up early on in like 2024. Palantir is the more notable one. So you did have Alex really just calling out shorts, calling them cocaine addicts and all the other crap. But I think Lucid management really does need to address that. And what is really stupid is that they have the PIF behind them. They're massive. So if the PIF really wanted to get rid of shorts, I'm sure they could easily do that. But the fact that nobody's really doing anything goes to show that just like retail investors are kind of their liquidity for the most part. But nonetheless, this is what shorts are doing. So all-time high short interest numbers. Looking at the options, kind of low volume today, but 277,000 in calls, 2.6 in puts, 40% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to pretty much be between that 12 to 12.50. And then looks like this one right here, the $14 was probably just hedging. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 11. So again, not necessarily the best. These are some of the transactions occurring on the secondary market. So you have 3 buys, one for 613,000, 146, and 116. Everything else is a sell. So 1.01 million, 1 million. So that clearly, based on the timestamp right there, is the same entity, most likely. So again, not the best. And then these are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. Dark pool is often enough used by shorts as well as hedge funds. But aside from all of that, with it right now at 11:25, there's roughly around 30 minutes left in the trading day. Anticipate a lot of volatility, and hopefully it's able to hold and not actually create a new 52-week an all-time low again, but that is currently sitting at 11.20. Right now it is trading between this S1 and this S2, so 10.29 is going to be that next strong support. 11.86 is going to be the next strong target / resistance point. So Lucid, from a technical standpoint, is really breaking down. A couple days back, I actually did pull my buy signal. So I have a Patreon, as I've mentioned. I give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, and this kind of push higher right here, I actually felt that it was going to really continue to move higher, but unfortunately I was sadly mistaken. So I actually did recently pull my buy signal on Lucid when it was at like, I think 13 or 12 something. But yeah, this right here, this is honestly the definition of a falling knife. Anyone out there saying, hey, you know what, God candle and all that other BS, I think actually, to be honest, most people that I see posting technical analysis saying that there's going to be some epic reversal, I kind of looked at a couple of them and I think they're like real estate agents. Nothing wrong with being a real estate agent, but I don't think that they have the expertise to actually indicate and kind of look at that. They're just most likely at a substantial loss with Lucid, and they're just wanting to create a artificial pump. So that's been a very common scenario, unfortunately, with Lucid. But nonetheless, the chart looks absolutely horrific. Even stochastic RSI right now is at 25, so arguably considered very oversold. Despite that, though, it's not really causing any institutions to FOMO in or to buy in. From the flow standpoint right here, you see a lot of algorithmic trading. These smaller transactions, that is algorithmic trading. So again, not necessarily the best. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Are you buying? Are you selling? Where do you see things going in the short term? What do you think is going to be the next big recovery? Not just for Lucid, but the broader market. Micron does have their earnings after hours today, so that could potentially give some temporary relief, but still there's a lot of fear for Friday. So Thursday evening, of course, the market will be digesting the Bank of Japan's interest rate hike on Friday. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. One final thing, pop over to my Discord. It is completely free. A lot of good people talking about stocks, options, crypto. Link to that is in the description below. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.